Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is an announcement video for a new Booktube event where we are going to be reading ghost stories for Christmas. So perhaps you're somebody like me who loves the Halloween season and has a really hard time letting go of it as the Yuletide season approaches. I am somebody who always tries to find ways to sort of continue the Halloween spirit, not just really through Christmas, but the whole year. I am a lifelong horror fan after all. But one thing that I've always been really fascinated by is the Victorian tradition, in which they would read ghost stories around Christmas time. It was very popular. Quite often magazines would publish short ghost stories, and they would be read widely. The Victorians were a people who kind of made a pageantry out of mourning. Things like spiritualism were really in their heyday. Ghost photography, all those things sort of coalesced to create this culture of ghosts. Now, that tradition kind of continued into the 20th century, but then by the time World War I happens, it starts to really kind of go away. Although the BBC did kind of keep the tradition alive in some way. From what I understand, in the UK, they would play kind of like ghost movies around the Christmas season. Now, I think it's a pretty awesome tradition. Reflecting on ghosts, and, even if you don't believe in ghosts, what they represent around the holidays is maybe not as counterintuitive as it first seems. I think when a lot of people hear that lyric in It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, there'll be scary ghost stories. They're maybe, confused by how that could fit inside the holidays, but really it does. And we've seen across cultures, across time periods, people reflecting on those who have passed, on death, right as a kind of winter solstice time period happens. At least you're in the northern hemisphere, we watch the natural world, slowly kind of decay and die as we go from fall to winter. The days get shorter, the nights therefore get longer. We're trapped inside more often because of the cold weather. And as people start gathering and families gathering, you start noticing as the years pass that, fewer and fewer people are there and that you're missing people. All these things help to create this sense of reminders, right, for those who have passed, for death. It's no wonder that so many people have, around this time of year, thought that the veil between the living and the dead was thinnest. All these different reasons are why ghost stories, especially ghost stories around December holiday season, why they fascinate me. So what we're doing, it's a lot of preamble, just basically explain what this event is all about. We are essentially just reading ghost stories. Now, this event is more about the spirit of things rather than the particulars. Now, if you want to participate, there are 3 ways you can do so. And you can do one of them or all of them, doesn't really matter. One thing that we're doing, myself and my co-hosts, who I'll mention in just a little bit, we are going to be doing a group read of Elizabeth Gaskell's The Old Nurse's Story. That was first published, I believe, in the 1850s. And when I looked up popular Victorian ghost stories, that one was constantly popping up. I haven't read it yet, some of my co-hosts have, but I'm excited to read it. So that's going to be a group read that we're going to do. And we're going to have a Voxer chat that I'll also have, linked down in the description, that if you want to participate, you can join and you can read and you can talk about it. But we'll be reading that in the first part of December. You can also participate just by reading other Victorian ghost stories if you want. And a third way to participate is to read more modern ghost stories. Read ghost stories from the 20th century, from the 21st century. Doesn't really matter. This isn't just about resurrecting a tradition from the Victorian era. I don't want it, encased in amber. I would love to see it become more of a living tradition that we start doing on our own. And that wouldn't mean, of course, just reading Victorian stuff. That would mean reading modern stuff. Stories that maybe reflect our own, times and anxieties and our references. So really, it's just about reading short ghost stories. That's the big deal. If you want to read a novel, go for it. I mean, it doesn't have to be short, but, most of you are probably like me and don't have a lot of time. So I am definitely reading, of course, the group read, Elizabeth Gaskell's The Old Nurse's Story. I have this collection here, Victorian ghost stories, that I picked up at, I think it was a secondhand book sale. And I found this really cheap, but there's lots of collections that people can buy for, Victorian ghost stories, and of course all that stuff is in the public domain as well, so you don't have to spend a penny if you don't want to. But of course you can read newer stuff as well, and if you do participate, we'd love to hear what you read. So you can come into the Voxer group chat and talk about what you're reading. Leave it in our description, or comment section below. Let us know what you're reading. We would love to see this sort of thing just become, once again, an annual tradition where around the holiday season in December, as the nights get longer, the outside gets colder, again, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere like I am, sit down next to a fire, read a spooky ghost story, maybe read it aloud to family, who knows. But that is it. That is our event. And you saw in the title of the video, we were calling it Ghosts of Christmas Past, Resurrecting a Tradition. And my co-hosts for this are Mark from Book Time with Elvis, Dave from The Book Blather, we've got Debs from Rainer Reads, Elaine from Cobalt Dragon, and Mindy from Mindy's Book Jury. They all agreed to come along, and they're going to be doing their own announcement videos that are going to be published right around the same time as mine. And please check out their channels as well. I asked them to come along with my idea here for a variety of reasons. Some of them I know already read Victorian literature. Some of them love reading ghost stories. Some of them really get into the holiday season. All these different reasons. So each of their channels, I'm sure you're going to find very different flavorings and different things that they'll gravitate to and discuss. So once again, please make sure you check out their channels. But yeah, if you're going to participate, we'd love to have you along. And if you are, let us know what you're going to read. All right, so we'll see you in December. All right, thank you, Booktube.